Now, believe it or not, there's a long history of research on year-round schooling, but most of that research looks at behaviors, and it shows a lot of positive things. You get better well-being, you get less absences, you get less tardiness, you get a better sense of belonging in school. But what these researchers said is, okay, does it help academic performance? And really, that's what a lot of people want to know. Hello everybody, and welcome to this week's From Theory to Practice, where I take a look at the research so you don't have to. Now, as you know, we're taking a journey through my new book, 10 Things Schools Get Wrong and How We Can Get Them Right. And this week we're going to take a look at Chapter 9, which is called Organization, the Problem with Structure. Now, in this chapter, we dive deeply into a lot of organizational patterns or processes around school. So for instance, why are classes typically 50 minutes long? And why does school start at 8 a.m.? And one of the topics we hit concerns summer break. Why is the summer break 3 months in most schools? And the article I've selected this week aligns with that concept, and it's called Year-Round Education for Improving Academic Achievement by Fitzpatrick and Burns. Now, to understand this paper, we have to wrap our heads around the concept of the forgetting curve. So as a simple example, I want you to imagine that you spent 3 hours tonight studying something specific, like let's say a list of words. Here's what's going to happen to your memory for those words over the next 7 days. Watch this. Yes, it is a sad fact that human beings forget anywhere from 60 to 70% of everything they learn every day within the next 48 hours. Our memory isn't great. But luckily, there's a way to combat this forgetting curve. It's called spaced repetition. Instead of simply learning something today, if you come back and you revisit those ideas tomorrow, and then a couple days later, watch what starts to happen to your memory as you revisit these ideas. All of a sudden, we see 30 to 70% jumps in our memory simply by repeating and reviewing over different days. Now, why does any of this matter when we're talking about summer vacation? Well, as you've likely figured out, most students undergo what's called the summer slump. Essentially, when they come back to school after summer, most of them will have regressed in their learning by about 1 month. Essentially, that last month of learning they did before summer is now gone, and we got to spend that first month of next year simply rehashing what we learned last year. Why do we have this summer slump? Spaced repetition. Unfortunately, during summer, most kids never review anything they just learned, so a lot of that later learned information simply fades away. Now that's where this paper comes in. These researchers say, okay, there's another method out there, and it's called year-round schooling. So in year-round schools, you don't go to school anymore. You still have 180 days of school. What happens is the vacations are simply chunked up differently. What you do is you do, say, 9 weeks on, 3 weeks off. 9 weeks on, 3 weeks off. You simply space vacations up throughout the year to avoid any of these long absences from school. Now, believe it or not, there's a long history of research on year-round schooling, but most of that research looks at behaviors, and it shows a lot of positive things. You get better well-being, you get less absences, you get less tardiness, you get a better sense of belonging in school. But what these researchers said is, okay, does it help academic performance? And really, that's what a lot of people want to know. So they trolled through the research, pulled together any studies that looked at academic outcomes in year-round schooling. And what did they find? They find that when you eliminate the summer break, students gain on average 1 month of learning. Now, rightly, these authors pointed out, look, that's not a huge gain in academic achievement, but it doesn't need to be. Remember, these kids aren't going to school anymore. They're not learning anything more. All we're trying to do is combat that summer slump, allow for enough spaced repetition that relevant ideas stay online indefinitely. And remember, the summer slump is about 1 month. So if a 3-month summer eliminates about 1 month of learning, then it makes perfect sense that year-round schooling would simply give us that month back. Now extrapolate that to a 12-year learning program, and we're looking at 1 extra year of growth simply by changing the way we organize our holidays and vacations. So now let's bring this back to us. What does this mean for us as teachers? Well, very few of us are going to have the power individually to say, hey, let's change the summer break. So I don't know that that's going to be an option for most of us. But what we can do is start to have a think about our own particular practices. The idea being this: the only reason we have a 3-month summer is because traditionally, historically, that's what we've always done. There was a very specific reason to adopt it in the early 1900s. But now we're allowed to ask, do those reasons still make sense today? And take summer vacation off the table, how many of our practices individually as teachers are we running simply out of tradition or because that's the way we were taught to do this? Now, to be fair, most of what we do is going to be good. We're going to question it and we're going to realize, yes, this still makes sense. This is still very relevant to today, to my students, to what I want to achieve. But every once in a while, we're going to come across one of those nuggets where we go, that may have made sense 20 years ago, but I'm not sure that's actually living up to my current standards. So we can always be asking ourselves, what are we doing out of tradition, and does it still make sense to maintain those behaviors today? Now, the second thing I can think of is this. So the summer slump comes from this lack of spaced repetition. So maybe there is a way we can work with students and parents to have some sort of repetition over that 3-month summer. So I don't know if it'll be every fortnight or every month, what it's gonna be, but would there be a way we can interact with our students for just 15, 30 minutes to recall a lot of those ideas we learned in the last month of school so that we can kind of work our way through that summer break and we don't have to waste the first month of next year simply reviewing. And the third thing I can think of is this. Spaced repetition is interesting in that the more you do it, the less you have to do it. So let's say you learned something today, you might have to repeat it tomorrow to keep that information strong. But now that you've done this, you can wait 2 to 3 days until you have to repeat it again. Now you can wait 2 to 3 weeks till you have to repeat it again. Now you can wait a month till you have to repeat it again. With spaced repetition, the more you do it, the less frequently you have to do. You can add more time between each repetition. So this has huge implications for how we review things in class. So we're all pretty good with this idea of a circular curriculum, this idea that we keep hitting those ideas that we've hit in the past so kids don't forget them. Cool. But now we see, sweet, if we play it right, that repetition can start to extend itself out to the point where we don't have to keep repeating week 1 every day. We only have to hit it once a month or once every 2 months to keep all that information strong and online. So as I said, in this chapter, we take a look at a lot of these different organizational elements. We take a look at where they came from, are they still relevant today, and if not, what can we do to tweak those? So a lot of great information. I hope you all got something good from this video, and if you like what you saw, if you can give us a thumbs up and subscribe below, that'll make sure more people get a chance to see this. Otherwise, I hope you're all well, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.